thank you so much for this opportunity. BizHack Academy has been a trainer in collaboration with the Miami Foundation for Give Miami Day for 4 or 5 years now. And it's a real passion of ours to support nonprofits. We've had a number of nonprofits who've gone through our program, including the Miami Foundation staff itself. My wife is the CEO of Catalyst Miami. Her name's Grech. And so I live every day with someone who's working and trying to push forward a nonprofit mission. And I know really how challenging it can be to market effectively. And so that's really what today is all about. We're going to be talking specifically about nonprofit marketing, and we're going to use Give Miami Day as essentially a good test case, a good opportunity for you to upgrade your marketing effectively. Jessica, anything else you wanted to mention in terms of any future programming or any other support that that the Miami Foundation is offering for Give Miami Day before we launch in?
So there's one thing that we announced last week. It's the Mission Control Room that is being hosted by Radical Partners and CIC Miami. And I just shared the link in the chat. There's more information. Nonprofits that have registered to Give Miami Day can register to the Mission Control. And this will offer nonprofits support all day through Give Miami Day. So this is a great opportunity and resource for nonprofits. And we encourage all the registered nonprofits to register to Mission Control.
And I'm sorry, and I might have missed this. Tell me again exactly what Mission Control is, just so that everybody's clear on that. It sounds like a very powerful resource.
Sure. So Mission Control is something that has been hosted for 5 years by Radical Partners, and it is just support.
And Radical Partners, for those of you who don't know, is the organization founded by the current head of the Miami Foundation.
Yes, exactly. And is also headed by Joanne Godoy, who, is from Philanthropy Miami and hosted the webinar with us a few weeks ago. So they are going to be offering support and resources to nonprofits all day through Give Miami Day. It will be virtual this year, but nonprofits that are registered will have access to a lot of tools and resources and fun activities throughout the day to boost their campaign, to be supported, energized, and to feel like they're part of a community also. They can interact with each other. So a lot of details are on our website about this. And so we encourage all registered nonprofits to learn more, register, and sorry, I see that there is a question. So where you can learn more, I shared the link, givemiamiday.org/mission control, where you can learn more about what this is going to look like for nonprofits, and CIC Miami and Radical Partners involvement and how they are going to lead this effort for our nonprofits on that day. Everything is on the website.
Wonderful. And that website is in the chat, everybody. The chat's really important, and I'd like you all to go into the chat right now and just take a minute and introduce yourself. Tell us what the name of what's your name, your nonprofit's name, and then tell me what your biggest marketing challenge is. I'd really like to make this, as useful as possible to all of you. And the best way for me to do that is if you could tell me what is your biggest challenge. We're going to be going through 5 tools, 5 insights that you guys can use for your nonprofit. But I do want you to know that we have time for Q&A, and we're going to start with the questions that are in the Q&A box. So if you could put your name and introduction and your biggest marketing challenge into the chat, and then as any questions come up, I'm going to be sharing some relatively advanced stuff today. Feel free to throw a question. Lilia is going to be monitoring that. And the other thing is, as kind of a give back to the nonprofit community, I'm making myself available over the next couple of weeks to meet one-on-one with you guys. And Lilia is going to be reaching out to you individually. Lilia, by the way, is my partner here from BizHack. She's going to be reaching out individually with each of you if you did want to schedule some time with me over the next couple of weeks to talk about your Give Miami Day campaign. Really would love to meet with you guys. We've worked with Philanthropy Miami, the Miami Foundation, as we discussed. So we really, I'm very expert in nonprofit marketing. I spent most of my career, as I'll talk about shortly, in the nonprofit space. So this is really a pet project of mine. It's part of our Give Back. We were part of the Nonprofit Academy from Daniela Levine Cava in District 8. We've been a trainer in Philanthropy Miami. We've trained dozens of nonprofits. We know how hard it is for you right now, especially with COVID. And we're here, I'm here, and dedicated to helping you guys. We've also done trainings for the Radical Partners cohorts. So like, just think of us as a resource and a support, because we know it's really hard to market. You guys face limited budgets, a ton of demands, oftentimes marketing and development kind of are merged together when they really should be thought of as separate. Sometimes PR and communications is merged with marketing. They really should be separated. There is a role and a place for marketing, and it's one of the most consistently under-invested parts of nonprofits. And so, you know, bless you guys for being here today. Bless you for being a nonprofit marketer. And boy, you have your challenge cut out for you. So today, we're going to share with you some simple tools and free resources that you can use to help your nonprofit. And we're making a case today for advertising online. And I'm going to talk to you about why we frame this education in that way here in a second. So today we're going to be looking at Audience Insights, a free tool for audience discovery, Lookalike Audiences, a very powerful way to grow your base. Retargeting, which is a technical term for getting folks who've engaged with you online to take that next step in their journey. We're going to talk about email, the single most profitable and easy to use of all marketing channels. And then finally, Google for Nonprofits, an incredible resource from Google. They really do good work helping and supporting nonprofits, and too few nonprofits take advantage of it. So today we're here to talk about the 5 reasons your nonprofit should start advertising online today. A few of you, not many, have introduced yourselves in the chat. I would invite you to introduce yourselves, more of you to introduce yourselves in there. Thank you, Janina. Thank you, Herman. Thank you, Trillian. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Paula. Thank you, Andy, Laverne, Isela, Anna, Gwendolyn. I see all of you, Adriana, Rosie, Amanda, Ivy, Fahawam, Pascal. Great to have you here. Just looking at some of the challenges that you guys have, is reaching enough donors to meet your goals for Give Miami Day. Amen, right? Everybody feels that one. I'm just looking for any others. I see another one is donor reach is a challenge. Brianna said her biggest challenge is expanding into different communities to build mission awareness. So Brianna is basically saying, look, our impact is going to be measured by how many people are aware of the work we do, in part. And right now, not enough people are aware of the work we do. Amen, Brianna, that's marketing. And unfortunately, too few nonprofits engage in marketing, engage in getting noisy about the work they do. And this is a huge problem, honestly. This is your impact is less than it would be if more people knew about your work, because the more people know about your work, the more people who will want to donate, who will want to volunteer, who will want to participate in your programs. Unfortunately, most nonprofits, in my experience, are really kind of catering to a bubble of people, and they really struggle to break out of the bubble. You can see here that I used to work at NPR Miami. We used to call this the 10%. 10% of people love NPR, donate to NPR, listen religiously to NPR, are raving fans of NPR, and 90% have never heard of us. We called it the 10%. And we were obviously really proud that we had raving fans in the 10%, but we were limited in our reach by the fact that 90% of us had never heard of us. That's what marketing is about. It's breaking out of that bubble. And that's what we're here to talk about. There are really clear tools that very few of you are using to help you break out of the bubble. Jessica, does that make sense, what I'm saying? Good. All right, so my background, as I said, is a journalist of 15 years. I really think of myself as a business storyteller. And I started out at the Washington Post, the Miami Herald, the Boston Globe. I was part of a Pulitzer Prize and participated in contributions to a book. Had an amazing run as a print journalist, and then I switched over to radio, spent a decade in broadcast for NPR and PBS, was a foreign correspondent in Argentina, covering Latin America, and then finally became news director for several years of NPR Miami. And loved that work, got a master's degree at FIU in storytelling, and then transitioned about a decade ago into business storytelling, also known as marketing. And now for 4 years, I've been an educator and a business owner of BizHack, which is dedicated to making it easier for you to grow your nonprofit and to grow your business. And we've been recognized by a number of accelerators. We were a top startup in 2019 in the Startup Challenge by the Miami Herald. The Knight Foundation funded us for their accelerator program, SWAT 305. And importantly, we've partnered with the top educators around South Florida, 3 of the top 10 largest largest colleges in the country, Broward College, FIU, and the Idea Center at Miami-Dade College. We also have a really proven track record of helping minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, and small businesses generally. And we also have a scholarship program that I'm going to be talking about at the end that incorporates nonprofits as well. So we're very proud of our community partnerships and the work we do on behalf of nonprofits, women-owned and minority-owned businesses. Women-owned businesses represent 70% of our clients. 87% of our clients are minority-owned. We're actually a participant in the Black Empowerment Month programming. We really believe very strongly that small businesses and underrepresented businesses need a leg up, and that's what we're here to do. So you guys have a huge marketing challenge. Number one, the user of your service is not always the payer for that service. Let me explain. A donor for Give Miami Day might be somebody who actually utilizes the services that you provide. You know, a good example is a museum or a theater. You know, the patrons who go to the theater, who go to the museum, they actually donate to it as well. So they pay tickets and they watch theater or they look at art shows, but they also donate to it. That's where the user and the payer are the same. But most nonprofits don't work like that. Catalyst Miami, for instance, serves low-income communities. Some of them do donate, but they're very small amounts of money. They donate what they can, $10, $15, $20. You know, Give Miami Day is built with minimum donations of $25 for the higher donor value. And that usually is not the service receiver for most nonprofits. So most like social justice nonprofits are really looking to raise money from a different audience. And that's a huge challenge. No other business works like this. Funding and using are the same people in most businesses. Good example, you buy an iPad, you use the iPad, you're the beneficiary of the purchase. It's so much easier to market when you have one audience. You guys have to market to 2. And the good that you're selling when you're a donor is like psychological, which is a really complex thing to sell. Like, I'm selling making you feel good about yourself, right? That's what donation is about, or being part of a community of donors. That's what donation is about. It's a different thing entirely than selling a widget. And so your marketing challenge is massive, it's huge. And I understand it really well because for 15 years, I worked at a company that gave a nonprofit that gave away its product for free over the airwaves, NPR, and then we had to convince people to become members. So we really sold the notion of community, and that's how we sold, and it was a hard sell. It was a hard sell. Second, in every organization I have seen, with the very few exceptions of the big guys like the Arsht Center and the big Perez museums, Pam, like you guys are all underfunded with marketing. It's like a part-time role, you don't have enough resources, your CEO or executive director doesn't really understand it. You're always getting pulled into like event creation or donor cultivation or PR, areas that are adjacent to but are not actually the core of marketing, especially digital marketing. And so therefore, you tend to be underfunded, and very few grant givers will give you the money to actually market. In other words, they'll give you plenty of money to run the program, but they won't give you any money unless you really ask for it and insist on it to market the program. And this is a huge gap in the way that nonprofit programs are funded. And it's often folded into overhead, and overhead is really hard to get money behind. And so therefore, marketing is always imperiled. It's the first thing that goes when funds get tight, because it is not grant guaranteed. And number one, and this isn't really what today is about, this is much more tactical, but number one, nonprofits have to start asking for marketing funding in their core budgets as a separate carve out and a dedicated funding source. Because if you don't, you will never, marketing will always be a part-time side activity. It needs to become a core part of program delivery. So that's the challenge, that's the bad news. The good news is y'all are smart. And so you guys are smart cookies. We're going to give you some tricks and tips that will allow you to be smarter to win, because you don't have the money, you don't have the resources, and you have a bigger marketing challenge. So I want to just go through quickly your objections. The number one is, I always hear people say, I'm sorry, we cannot advertise online because we don't have the money. Well, number one, marketing online is way cheaper than you might think, especially if you use a platform like Facebook or Instagram. You know, in our courses, we recommend budgets of $100 to $150, and that's enough for our 7-week program to put out test and learn ad campaigns, 2 to 3 for that budget. So do you guys have $150 to run some test and learn campaigns on Facebook or Instagram? If the answer is no, that's fine. Most nonprofits can find that money. It's really just about making sure that those campaigns are well designed, and that they're very specific to trying to learn new things about your target audience. The other thing is, most people who aren't marketers think about marketing in terms of spending money. It's a cost center, but we think of marketing and advertising as a revenue generator, as a way to drive donations. For every dollar you spend, you should get $5 in donations. So we actually like to think of it as an activity that can have money grow on trees. That if you put a little bit of marketing budget behind your marketing efforts, you can actually have a positive return on investment. You can get more dollars than money spent. And so to frame it not as a cost center, but as an investment in faster growth and larger donations. And then finally, very few nonprofits, unfortunately, do what's known as segmentation. And segmentation is just fancy marketing speak for saying targeting narrow niches of audiences, subsegments of your world of possible donors, and giving very targeted messages to that subsegment, to that niche. You should be doing this with your email. We'll talk about email in a sec, but the more targeted you are in general with your digital communications, the more effective it will be. And advertising is incredibly targeted. And we're going to find out some of the really cool different types of targeting you can do with online advertising. So I want to start by giving you what I hope is a very simple, accessible example of one nonprofit that used very small budget digital marketing to have a very transformative impact on their nonprofit. So this is a pre-COVID example, I should warn you, but it does show you the power of digital marketing. And I love the example because it's really vivid. So Moon River Cabaret was a cabaret show, a burlesque show. It was basically a tasteful strip show, if you will. And they were the first and only cabaret in all of South Florida. And they kicked off in January of 2019, and they were doing it at Barter Wynwood, which is a great little venue, and they had 2 or 3 shows lined up, and they told their whole friends and family network, come to our shows, and they filled up the shows. But they were trying to make this into like a monthly thing. And when the March or April show came around, they noticed the ticket sales were going down. You can only sell to your friends and family so much. You have to start selling to strangers if you're going to be an ongoing theater concern. And Barter Winwood had said, look, we will give you a permanent home for this show once a month if you can prove over the course of 6 months that you can fill the place. So they were under pressure. They knew that they weren't going to fill up for their third or fourth show unless they did a different tactic than just promoting to their existing network. So what did they do? They tried to put some posts on Facebook and then maybe would boost them, and that didn't work. They had no sellouts. Nobody seemed to react. It seemed like the only people even seeing their Facebook posts were people who already knew them and liked them. So it wasn't really serving any purpose. What did they do? They decided a different tactic. They went through one of our training programs and they decided to run a video ad on Facebook. They spent $20 on this. The video that they built was a video with a slideshow of photos. One thing that burlesque shows have a lot of are great photos. So they just created a quick slideshow. It took them less than an hour. They spent $20 on the ad total. They ran it 6 days prior to the show. So they did it last minute. And their goal was to get 10-second video views in order to get the person to watch for 10 seconds this video slideshow they created. What was key was that niche audience that they used. Their target audience was veterans and lookalikes. And we're going to talk about lookalikes a little later, but they used Facebook audience insights, and they found that military veterans were big fans of burlesque because of their time overseas. They used to consume burlesque, a lot of Vietnam vets and so forth. They also wanted to target the friends of the cabaret, but not the friends of the cabaret, not their friends, not their existing audience, the friends of those people. And you can do that with something called lookalikes. They also realized that people who like dinner theater, pinup stars, people that are transgender friendly, people who are into off Broadway, all of these interest categories, which you can find on Facebook, were part of their targeting. And then they limited it to the 25 miles around their venue. This was the actual results of their campaign. It cost 7 cents to get someone to watch the video. And then 32 people clicked through to the ticketing site. So for every click on the ticketing site, all they had to pay was $63. So that's what this would look like. 2,000 people reached, 270 people watched the video. And I'm sorry that the image is a little unclear, but they had 32 clicks. So what happened as a result? Their first ever sellout. The ad led to several more pre-sales, but more importantly, it raised a ton of awareness, and they had a rush of door sales. In other words, the ad not only led some people to actually transact, but it also led a lot more people to mark their calendar and just show up and buy at the door. Now, how did they know that those people were from the Facebook ad? Because the only difference between what they had done before and what they did for this one was the Facebook ad. And when they asked people, oh yeah, we saw your post on Facebook, they didn't even realize it was an ad. I marked my calendar, and then we just decided to come out and see if we couldn't buy a ticket. Well, they ended up selling out the show. 92 new people with a $20 ad spend showed up. That is a $900 return on investment and a 4,500% return on their ad spend. This is why, with tiny budgets, a very specific and differentiated offering to a very clear target audience can have just extraordinary results. And this completely changed the course of the cabaret. They got their permanent home. Obviously, COVID disrupted that, but they were able to use this to help get Barter to believe, yes, you guys can consistently bring an audience. And what's so good about advertising is whenever you need to reach new strangers, you run another ad. It's really a way to break through that bubble we talked about. So let's get to the 5 reasons. The first one is audience insight. So Facebook is an incredible tool for you guys. As you saw, you can use it for very low cost targeted advertising. Facebook is by far the cheapest of all the advertising platforms. It's also not easy to learn, but easier to learn than Google and some of the others. Google in particular, I like to say, is built by Google engineers for Google engineers. Facebook has a more intuitive, user-friendly design, and with a little bit of help or some tutorials online that you can get for free from Facebook's free ad academy, they call it Blueprint, you can get learnings from there. Now, why Facebook? It has pretty much everybody in the world is on it. 80% of people in the United States that are online are on Facebook or Instagram or WhatsApp. So a lot of people are like, because remember, Facebook owns Instagram and WhatsApp. A lot of people are like, Facebook, they're evil, they're bad, whistleblower, they're bad for preteens, I don't like them. Mark Zuckerberg's just a rich jerk. I'm going to be on Instagram instead. Or Instagram is owned by Facebook. I hate them too. I'm going to tell my friends how much I hate them on WhatsApp. Well, WhatsApp is owned by Facebook too. They're unavoidable. They are a tool. They're a reality of life. Your audience is there. You should use the tool to grow your nonprofit. So what is an ad? Remember I mentioned a lot of people don't know the difference between an ad and a post. And by the way, an ad is different than a boost. An ad says sponsored. So if you go into your Facebook feed right now, pick up your phone and look, you will see every fifth post is sponsored. And a sponsored post, right, is something someone paid for to get to your eyeballs. And if you are a nonprofit, in other words, if you have a company page, as you're required to as a nonprofit, the only way to reach audiences that aren't in your network are ads. And by the way, you only reach people inside your network at less than 5% per post. So in other words, if you have 100 followers and you post organically, you just put a post on your feed, only 5 of the 100 will likely see it, and often fewer than that. So if you notice that you post and there's no activity at all, it's not because Facebook doesn't work, it's because Facebook isn't showing it to anyone. So what do? You boost it. And by boosting, you're just paying for what you used to get for free. Boosting doesn't work. Facebook ads are a much better investment of your money. They take a little more time to create, but they don't actually cost more, as we saw. So Facebook Audience Insights is a free tool that helps you learn about your audience. In order to use it, you do need to have a business manager account set up. The way to do that is go to business.facebook.com, and then you'll see Insights is one of the tabs. What makes Insights really powerful is that it allows you to put in criteria about the audience, and then you can learn more about them. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for 1 second. I'm going to open it up to questions. I see that there's a question right now from Julia. Do you have any information on how to research price points for events that work well to figure out how to price an event or donation for a specific demographic? Is it better to have a price or suggested donation or a donation? I have no idea. So Jessica, is that a question you might know an answer to, or is there somebody who's attending, if you look at the attendees list, that might be able to answer that question? I don't really know the answer. Is there anybody in the group here? We have brilliant people in the group. Look at that question from Julia. Raise your hand if you know an answer to that. And while she's doing that, I'm going to set up a quick demo for us. Lilia, please monitor and let me know if you see anybody raise their hand for that.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to share my screen now. This is a bit of a live demo. Live demos are always risky because they often don't work. So please bear with me, guys. So this is business.facebook.com. This is the business manager. You can notice it's inviting me to log in. If you're here for the first time, they would invite you to create an account. So I'll hit login. And, I hope this works. Okay. So this is Facebook Business Suite. This is your passport to unlocking the potential of Facebook advertising. And it's a It's a lot. It's a lot to take in. For those of you who've never seen it before, it's a little bit overwhelming, even though it is simpler than what else is out there from Google. But what you can do is you can create ads, you can build audiences, you can use the insights tool that I mentioned. So I'm going to show you kind of how the audiences work and can get built in this quick demo. So far, all I did is I logged in and I clicked on audiences, and it gives me an option to create a couple of different audiences. A custom audience, which is an audience of people that have engaged with you. So if they've connected with you on Facebook, connected with you on Instagram, interacted with one of your posts or pages, you can interact with them. These are the different lists of activities that you can do. So if they interacted with your website and you have the pixel installed, and if you don't know what I mean by the pixel installed, that's a good thing to Google for after this session, you can do it this way. If they interacted with your app, if they're on a customer list, an email list that you have, you can upload that. If they've interacted with a Facebook video or Instagram video, filled out a lead form, interacted with your Instagram account, gone to one of your events, interacted with your Facebook page. All of those are ways to create audiences. So I'll give you an example. Let's say I want to get the people who viewed at least 3 seconds of my video, and then you can choose from any of these videos that I have. So I say, okay, anybody who's looked at any of these videos, I want to do an ad to them. And that's what this allows you to do. Pretty cool. You can also say, hey, anybody who's interacted with my Instagram account, right? So here's my BizHack Academy. Anyone who's engaged with it, anyone who's visited it, anyone who engaged with the post or ad. There's no other way to do this, to reach people who've engaged with you, than paying for it. So you can see, I hope, just the breathtaking power of creating audiences using this. Now, if you don't have that available, you can then use what's called a saved audience. And that's when you start doing targeting around interests. So you might remember from this case study, oops, wrong thing. From this case study, some of the interests they targeted were folks who liked live theater, including off Broadway. So I'm like, okay, let's target let's see if this comes up. There it is, off Broadway. So that is actually a targeting criteria. Let's do pinups. So pinup girl, lost pinup. Notice that sometimes it's spelled like this. So anybody who's got interest in pinup girls or pinups. So pinup, curvy and rocker pinups. All these are now interests that you can target. And let's say we want to focus on men. We want an older demographic, right? So let's say 35 to 55. And we want them to be near. So let's have them be near Wynwood, Florida. Let's see if that's listed as a possibility. So Barter's in Wynwood. We want anybody who's in the Wynwood area who are living in or recently in this location. All right, that's the power of Facebook. And this is an audience that you can now target with your ad. This is why I strongly recommend Facebook for nonprofits, because you can get really specific. And frankly, the ads, as I showed you, are not that expensive. So let's move on to the next one. Lookalike audiences. So as I showed you there, you have the core audience, which is an audience you build by hand, or also known as a saved audience. You have the custom audience, which is when you upload a customer list or get people who interacted with you on Instagram. Then there's this third group, which is your friends of your friends, and it's called a lookalike audience. So going back in here, did you see that there is this third version? This lookalike audience version is reach new people who are similar to audiences that you care about. So the very best example of a lookalike audience for Give Miami Day for a nonprofit is the lookalike of donors, past donors. So get your list of donors, upload them as a custom audience, and then create a lookalike audience of that. And what they'll give you is people who are similar to your past donors, not the same people, similar to those people. So I just clicked on lookalike. Pretend for a second that you click other sources, and let's just pretend for a sec that my alumni list is your past donor list, right? And then you're going to search. I wouldn't worry about searching for a location yet. And then you select a number between 1 and 10. A 1% means they're very similar. A 10% means they're sort of similar. And you can pick any number in between. If your geography is limited, I definitely would recommend you keep the number in the 4, 5, 6 or above. If your geography is very large, in other words, you can get donations from anywhere in the nation, then you can be a little bit more targeted. You know, BizHack, which sells nationally and internationally, we tend to keep in the 1, 2, 3% range. This represents 1, 2, or 3% of the US population. So 1% of 250 million is 25,000 people, right? 10% is 2.5 million people. Did I do that right? 250? No, 1% is 2.5 million, 10% is 25 million. So you can see that these numbers are huge, right? This is the 25 million people, the 2.5 million people in the United States that are most like my alumni. This is the 25 million people who are most like. So it's really the similar to or the lookalike is still a huge audience. And then you have to continue to add additional targeting criteria to then limit it. This is some technical stuff. So I want to make sure that I'm addressing any questions that might have been asked. How do we upload the list of past donors to Facebook? By Paola, I'll show you in a second. And then if you upload the users, does Facebook have total access to them for any other reason? No. There's a technology that they use called hashing, H-A-S-H, which makes it so that Facebook does not have access to them for any reason. It is a cryptography standard, so they genuinely don't have access to that data, but they are still able to match your people to their profiles. And I'll show you how you upload in a sec. And then, yeah, so Facebook is not allowed, Amy, to use that for any other purposes. So you go here, you go to custom audience, you click on customer list. This is all being recorded and it will be shared on the BizHack YouTube channel and on the resource page on the Miami Foundation as well. And then what you do is you prepare a customer list, donor list. You can either import it from MailChimp, you can download the file template and then upload the file with the names. And then they have this link that gives you instructions on formatting. Thanks for your great questions, guys. It really helps me to know where you're getting stuck. Please use the Q&A for this.
Then
so number 3.
Alexander Joseph raising his hand. I don't know if he's going to help us answer the first question or if he has another.
Yeah, go ahead. This is a perfect time for it. Do you want to? Hey, Alexander, how are you? Please unmute yourself. Hi, can you hear me, Alexander? We can't hear you, Alexander. All right, let's continue. We now want to talk to you about how to turn supporters into donors. And that's really where the custom audiences can become really, really helpful. So while we were talking earlier about how to build audiences from scratch and how to get to access to the friends of friends, one of the best things that you can do is to take your custom audience, the people who are already engaging with you via email, on your social media, on your website, and to turn them from a one-time to a sustaining donor. So as we talked about, these are some of the different types of custom audiences that you can build. And we strongly recommend you use uploading your email and phone list. And another approach is also if people visit your website or visited your Instagram, you can retarget them. And this term retargeting is just fancy pantsy marketing speak for targeting folks with an ad who've already interacted with you online. That's really all that means. So what Facebook calls a custom audience is just a form of retargeting. Retargeting is a term that they use all the time in digital marketing. I think it's a terrible term. It's super confusing, but that's what it means. So if you do want to target people who visited your website and you have something called a pixel installed, you're able to do that. So I'll show you how that works. So bizhack.com has a pixel installed. And how do I know that? Because I have this little plugin called Facebook Pixel Helper, and it showed that this pixel has been installed. What that means is every time somebody visits my website, Facebook knows about it. And then I can go into Facebook and I can actually target folks who've been on my website. There's my pixel. I don't know why it's not showing, but it's there. So you can see 14652. 14652. So my website is passing information over to Facebook, and then I can target people who visited my website. I hope you guys can immediately see why this is super valuable to you, because what happens? Somebody goes to your website and they're all psyched and they love you and they want to give you money, and so they click donate, right? And they go to your donate center and they're like, oh, should I become a monthly contributor or a one-time contribution? You know, honey, what do you think we should do? And they get distracted and they walk away and they leave this page and they never come back, right? And then this is called the abandoned shopping cart problem. And it's a really common problem for nonprofits. And it's very profitable for you guys to advertise for people who visited this page, but haven't actually transacted with you. So what you do is you can actually put the website that they visited, people who visited a specific web page. The URL contains this. And now you can actually retarget people who visited your donation page specifically over the last 90 days. So there's, or how many, you can even have people who visited the site more than once. It's a really powerful tool that you all should be using. Any other questions before we move on to email? So are there any legal privacy ramifications for doing these things? So this is about PII, personal identifiable information. And Paula, the answer is that this does pass muster for privacy standards for most privacy policies that you have on your website. And if your website doesn't have a privacy policy, it should. That's considered a basic best practice for all websites. So every website should have a contract with its audience, with people who visit it, about how they'll use data that they collect on your website. And here is BizHack's privacy policy. And there's a great website called freeprivacypolicy.com where you can actually get a privacy policy. Some of them are not free, I'll warn you, in order to be able to do this. And basically, this is a contract with your, your users. And so you need to make sure that this contract is accurate to how you plan to use it. And you can see it's not a short one, but as long as you have this, Facebook will permit you to retarget website visitors, and you will be within the current laws that allow you to do it. And you can see it talks about how we use the information, how we share the information, and some of the choices people have to unsubscribe, if you will. So let's talk about email. Email is like all this fancy Facebook advertising marketing stuff is great, but really the goal of all of it is to just get someone to give you their email address. The question is, what do you do next? And there's a great resource that I highly recommend to all of you, which is Next After. They're a research organization that tests digital marketing strategies for giving. Here is Next After. I think that's right. Here, let's just do this. Nonprofit fundraising, optimizing your online fundraising. It is an incredible resource, nextafter.com. We help nonprofits grow their digital fundraising. All of you guys should be leveraging this. And I'm going to share with you a couple quick insights about email that I've found really helpful. One thing is that we're finding that because of a lot of the spam filters, those heavily designed templates aren't working as well anymore. People really just want personalized emails. The good news is they're easier to write than this fancy template. When they went from a template to just a simple email, they saw a 20% increase in the number of clicks. Personalization is essential. This is basically, so Next After did a bunch of studies of email, and these were the best practices they found. If just putting "Hi Jeff" versus not having your name at the front will actually lead to a 3-time increase in clicks. Using original language instead of "join the fight," you can help restore economic freedom. Be more specific about what the value you're proposing to help. That can more than double your conversion rates. All of this basically says, write emails like a human being, right? Would you say, "Hello, friend," if you're talking to a person you know? No. Would you put, "join the fight," or would you say, "Hey, I could really use your help. We're fighting for, women's economic health," right? The more specific language. Having it be personal, asking for a single thing, a single calls to action. All of these things combined will lead to a doubling or more, according to their statistics, of your conversion rates on your emails. And then finally, I wanted to share with you guys a resource that too few of you are using. Now, I will say as a caveat that it does require staff time in order to take full advantage of these resources. But I think if I were running a nonprofit, I would use every single piece of this that I could. I would dedicate a staff, I would fund it, because Google gives away a ton of money. They have this amazing website, google.com/nonprofits. And on this is basically access to all of this amazing free and low cost stuff. And one of the things they do is they help you by giving you free advertising dollars. That's what a grant is, to reach more donors online. And you can click here to learn more. And this will now tell you all about the Google ad grants. Again, as I will say, they require you to manage the account. They can't let you just have the money and put it on autopilot. So you have to log in a certain number of times. You have to use it effectively. It's not easy to launch. I've run trainings just on how to use this. It does take a little bit of effort, but I think the effort is worth it, because this is free advertising dollars to help raise awareness of the program that you're running, and ultimately reach more donors and raise more money. So that is it in terms of the formal presentation. I did want to quickly say before we open it up for Q&A that BizHack does offer scholarships for nonprofits. Our next course starts on Monday. If you guys are interested in learning more, just apply now. Go to bizhack.com/apply-now. That'll allow you to actually fill out a scholarship application, and would be happy to evaluate whether you guys are a good fit, for the program. It talks a little bit, it's a really simple form, doesn't take much time at all. And then at the bottom, you just click yes if you want to apply for a scholarship. This is a course in digital marketing. It's a mix of nonprofits and mostly for-profit businesses. This is the course, for instance, that the Miami Foundation and folks from the Knight Foundation and others have taken and had great success. Again, if you want to be a part of our scholarship or eligible to apply for our scholarship program, it's also open to women and women-owned and minority-owned businesses and professionals of color. So if you know of anyone else, if you're not yourself interested, who fits in any of these categories, I would definitely encourage them to apply. And I just wanted to share this one parting thought. We know that COVID has been difficult for nonprofits especially. And when the word crisis is written in Chinese, it's composed of two characters, danger and opportunity. The danger to all of you and to the people you serve is very clear. People are dying, businesses are going out of businesses, nonprofits are shutting their doors, but there is opportunity as well in all of this. And the opportunity is to try new things, to reach people in new ways, to go and apply for that Google ad grant that you haven't applied for before, to do things differently than the way you've done them before. Because we know that in this world, the old ways aren't going to work anymore. And so with that, I just want to say, grasp the opportunity. Don't think in terms of what's not working or what's more difficult. And I invite you guys to grasp the opportunity. We need you in this world. We need more nonprofits doing your amazing work. Thank you so much, Miami Foundation, for the opportunity to present to this amazing group. And I'm here to answer any questions you might have. So I'm looking here in the Q&A. There's a question from Paula about what about uploading a list of previous donors. As I've mentioned, yes, you may upload previous donors, current donors, even prospective donors. Any list of current or prospective customers can be uploaded using that. Are there any other questions in the chat, Lilia or Jessica? Anything, Jessica, you want me to cover before we wrap up?
I'm trying to think. Nothing that I can think of. I think it was very comprehensive and exhaustive, very interesting. Also, I'm sure the nonprofits learned a lot and will be able to improve their campaign. Thanks to you, Dan. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, as I said, it is a special passion of mine to support and help nonprofits. And so I'm here to help you guys with your marketing, with your Give Miami Day challenges. And so please go ahead and use the link that Lilia put into the chat, the BizHack, the Calendly link, and schedule 15 minutes with me. And I promise to help you however best I can. And then Lilia, could you just talk quickly about the thank you gifts that we're going to be sending folks as a thank you for coming today?
Sure. So we want to honor your time and your commitment to come to this session today live. So we're going to send you a link to the recording. We're also going to send you, well, we can send the ebook or some other resources for you to have handy. And yeah, any other handouts or resources from this session, we will be sending that later today to your email. If you don't receive that by the end of the day, please let me know. I'm gonna put my email in the chat and I can send you that separately.
Perfect. Jessica, any final words before we wrap up?
Nothing except that we are very excited. Give Miami Day is in less than a month, and we have more than 900 nonprofits registered this year. So we're really excited for our 10th anniversary and to celebrate together in a few weeks.
Wonderful. We're so happy to be here in support of you guys. Thank you again for your time, your interest. I see a lot of friendly faces and people I know, including some folks from Catalyst. Thank you guys for coming. And I really wish you all the very best. a very good Give Miami Day, and keep going and doing the good in your world, in the world that you are. You know, one of our core values is grow with purpose. And there are no more purpose-driven organizations and nonprofits. We're here to serve you. So thanks, everybody. We really appreciate you. And Jessica, we'll be getting you a recording of this so that it can be put on your website and spread to your as a continuing resource to your nonprofit partners.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody. Hope to
Bye.
talk to you soon.
Bye.